ordered to jail. That's Tracy Hunter going limp while a deputy pulls her out of the court in Cincinnati. She's sentenced to 6 months behind bars for giving her brother confidential records while he was a court employee. And look at this. An officer runs into danger to save a man from his burning car. Watch.
Oh my God. Here, you got to get away from this car. Sit up. Sit up. You got to get away from this car, all right?
Come on.
Stand up for me.
Good job. Good job. Wow, the officer pulling the man out of the burning car after he crashed in California. He will be okay. The officer insisting he isn't a hero, but we know otherwise. The Piano Man gives a very special teen a big break. Check it out. That is Logan Ryman, who is blind, playing with Billy Joel at a concert soundcheck in New York City. The 14-year-old met the music icon through the Garden of Dreams Foundation for kids facing obstacles. Isn't that absolutely incredible?
They sound terrific together.
I could listen all day. It gives me chills.
Man, oh man.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Remember, Billy Joel had that motorcycle accident, hurt his hands for a while. They didn't know if he could ever return to the greatness on the keyboard, but I say yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
All right, it's 18 minutes before the top of the hour. And Janice, it's a rainy day here in the Northeast, but it's cooler.
Right? Is that a good trade-off? Although
Yes.
we did have a lot of severe weather last night with hail and damaging winds. But look at this cold front. It's 67 right now in New York City, 62 in Chicago. We're actually breaking low records across the upper Midwest this morning after that big heat wave that broke records in terms of high temperatures over the weekend. So here's the cold front, also dealing with an area of low pressure that has become a depression in the Atlantic that is going to bring some moisture, rain, perhaps some flooding across portions of the east coast of Florida and the southeast. And then this cold front that's going to kind of linger a little bit through the day today for parts of the Northeast and the mid-Atlantic, bringing the potential for more heavy rainfall. So just keep that in mind and know what to do if there's a flash flood watch or warning in your area. There's the future radar. And the reason I zoom in on parts of Florida and the southeast is because we have this depression we're going to have to watch over the next 12 to 24 hours. We do not think it's going to develop. We think a cold front is going to push it offshore, but it does come a little bit too close for comfort, so we will keep an eye on it. All right, Steve Ainsley Bryan, back to you.
A busy day in the Weather Center.
Yep.
All right. Meanwhile, Forever RIP. It's a new veteran-launched charity restoring cars for families of fallen soldiers and those wounded in action.
Our friend and Fox News contributor Emily Campagno lived out her race car driver dreams to join the team on launch day, and she joins us now to tell us all about it. Good morning.
Good morning, you guys. Thanks so much for having me. So first of all, it was such an honor to be a part of the official launch of this veterans charity, Forever RIP, and to be there during that moment, that reveal of the fully restored 1981 Corvette to Sergeant Bradley Cross's Gold Star mother and family. So check it out here. We're in Pinehurst, North Carolina, as you can see, in a pretty impressive shop with some amazing muscle cars for the launch of new charity Forever RIP.
Forever RIP is a nonprofit organization missioned under U.S. Veteran Corps, all built by veterans for veterans. Forever RIP was set up to honor service members and first responders that were either killed or wounded in the line of duty and have had a dream to complete some sort of automotive build that we can complete those dreams by finishing their projects and passing those cars on to them again, to family members, loved ones, to tell their story and to continue to honor them.
So the restoration was 100% done by veterans. It was done in this shop here.
Innovation Performance, which is a Special Forces veteran-owned business. And here we are trying to build cars.
And everybody that works here is a veteran as well.
Yes.
What does it mean for you to work on these amazing cars?
Just really a really big, great honor because they do so much for us. It's nice that we can actually do something back for them.
Eric, tell us about the car that you're launching with today.
It's a 1981 Corvette, belonged to one of my best friends, Sergeant Bradley Cross, who was killed in Afghanistan on March 4th of 2002 in an event, Operation Anaconda, also known as Roberts Ridge. His mother, Sheila, and also his brother, who is coming here today.
And she's going to see it for the first time today.
She is. All right, Mama, we're going to present you Brad's dream. Go ahead and open your eyes.
Oh my can't.
Rev it up again.
You would have loved it.
Are you ready to go for a ride in it later?
I can't wait. Okay, let's roll.
We're going to go from here and drive to the Z-Max Dragway. Are you ready for our time on the road?
Yes, we're going to ride.
All right.
See you in Charlotte. Seven years ago, you had this idea. Now it's here. How does it feel?
I cannot wait to see where this goes in 6 months, a year, 10, 20, 50 cars from now. Air Force, Navy, Marine, police, firefighter. I want to be able to hear stories, tell phenomenal stories, complete dreams, finish dreams, and let those people live on through their stories being told.
Sheila, it's the end of launch day. How did it feel to drive in it?
Like Riley was hugging me. And knowing what it feels like, it's exciting to know that other families are going to be able to share in that feeling and that they're going to be able to hang on to a piece of someone that they love. Thank you.
You did amazing work.
And thank you.
How great is that? It's
Really
such a
sweet.
simple idea.
It really is. And, you know, we all support veterans' causes and it speaks close to our hearts. But that one in particular to me, because it has to do with Cries, right? And restoring these dreams of these guys that have had forever.
Right, and they are looking for more stories, more families who've got a car of somebody who lost their life in action they would like to restore even more, right?
Absolutely. So to learn more, to donate, and to submit any story, go to their website, foreverrap.org. The link is on foxandfriends.com. Of course, it's on my social media, and they're also on all social medias as well.
Sweet to see the mom get in the car and see.
Admit that there is a problem at the border, right?
Oh, sure, absolutely. We're overwhelmed at the border, and it is a crisis. It's a humanitarian crisis that we've got to take some action on,
Right.
for sure.
And you understand, and I think you agree that Central America is getting the wrong message. Come in now and you can stay.
No, I think that we have to work with those countries. We got to figure out, Brian, I think, how we can keep people from leaving. I don't think a lot of these people really want to leave their home countries. These are families, they're children, and I think we need to try to help those countries to kind of keep, as well as do the other things to try to just alleviate the overwhelming number of people that are coming across or attempting to come across the border.
I know you and Joe Manchin have written a letter and trying to get some, and as well as Senator Sinema, to the president, trying to help out. But the Trump administration on Monday announced plans to extend the immigration officers, give them power to deport migrants before they appear in court. How do you feel about that? This is something that was on the books back in 2007.
Well, I think that that's one area that I think that they can look at. I will tell you, Brian, what I really wish to see out of the administration. I wish they'd see some more emphasis on the criminal element that is in this country illegally. I think we need to prioritize.
Well, that's what ICE is doing, Senator. That's what ICE is doing. That was the priority.
I don't think that they are. I don't think that the administration's plan last week with just broad sweeps kind of prioritize the way that we've got limited resources, and we got to prioritize to make sure that those people who are in this country illegally that are most violent and dangerous, they leave first.
I put it this way: everybody I talk to, they're always the priority. But let's talk about who's coming to the border today, for example. We got to be able to turn them around quick. We have no beds for them. We have no room for them, and the Border Patrol are being vilified for it. So, are you going to support the president, or are you going to be with the ACLU and push back on the president?
No, look, we sent this letter last week. It was not just me and Manchin and Sinema. There were 4 or 5 Republicans on there as well to create a pilot program that would try to look at the credible threat allegations, the credible threat theories that come across with some of these asylum seekers, so that we can kind of fast track to see whether they are actually truly credible. A lot of people coming across this border are obviously trying to game the system. We don't want to see that happen. So I think if we can start a program like this that gives, like, within 15 days, make sure that they are treated in a humanitarian way, but also expedite that. I think that we can relieve some of this pressure with the existing authorities that we have. And that's where we've got to be focused. You know, Brian, I really wish folks, instead of saying, are you this way or that way, and you go to your corners, we need to be focusing, like I think we did with this letter, on ways that we can agree to make sure we can start relieving the pressure.
And of course, being in Alabama as a Democrat, if you don't do that, you won't be there another day. So it makes sense. That makes the same as West Virginia, which y'all mentioned. But let me just finish. Brian. When you see Cory Booker walking over people because they want asylum, when you see Congressman Castro say that we should decriminalize crossing the border, essentially saying open borders, are you going to push back on that?
Sure, I'll push back on that. I don't agree with all of that. I think we have to have some sanctions for crossing the border illegally. I think we're in the middle of a political campaign, and it's just like the president said during his campaign that he was going to get Mexico to pay for a wall. That's more of, it was not something that was ever going to happen. I would push back on a lot of that. I'm not for open borders, never have been, and I think the majority of Democrats overwhelmingly are not for open borders. We just have to do it in a way that we can come to some agreement, find the common ground, and treat people in a humanitarian way, which is the nature of the United States of America.
I hear you, and you almost, now everyone's going on vacation, so I wish somebody would get something done and not talk about comprehensive 4 or 5 asylum fixes, which shut it off and give everybody. Benjamin Hall joins us live in London. London, it's got to be good news, Benjamin, better relations between both leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a relationship which has gone back some years now, both speaking very warmly of the other. And I think Boris Johnson has always said that one of the first things he would aim to do after Brexit is do a really solid trade deal with the US, that partnership is going to be crucial for the future of the UK, specifically when it leaves the EU. But look, this is a very difficult time for Boris Johnson and for the UK. You pointed out those two issues there. The first one, Brexit. The other one, the Iran tanker, the British tanker being taken by Iran in the Straits of Hormuz. So Boris Johnson will have no honeymoon period. He will have to get straight to it. This is a job he's wanted for many years. When he was a young kid, it was famously reported that all he wanted to be was king of the world. Well, today, finally, he has become British Prime Minister after a 1-month battle with Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Minister, to get there. But he won with a resounding 67% of the votes. That was of Conservative Party members, 160,000 of them. And that was because Theresa May stepped down as leader, leading the way for another leadership challenge. Here's what Boris said earlier in his acceptance speech.
And today, at this pivotal moment in our history, we again have to reconcile two sets of instincts, two noble sets of instincts.
67% of the votes. That was of Conservative Party members, 160,000 of them. And that was because Theresa May stepped down as leader, leading the way for another leadership challenge. Here's what Boris said earlier in his acceptance speech.
And today, at this pivotal moment in our history, we again have to reconcile two sets of instincts, two noble sets of instincts, between the deep desire for friendship and free trade and mutual support in security, and the simultaneous desire for democratic self-government in this country.
Throughout the campaign, Alexander Boris de Pfeffel Johnson, to use his full name, has preached a sense of optimism that the UK can do well outside the EU, that the pessimists who want to stay in were wrong. And that's going to be the big test moving forward. And he's going to rely quite heavily on allies around the world, President Trump included, who just tweeted congratulations to Boris. And it was really Brexit that got Boris Johnson elected. It's an issue which continues to really divide the UK. And Boris Johnson has pledged to leave the European Union with or without a deal on October 31st, 3 months from now. But even the cabinet is divided. There have been resignations already. Some people saying they won't serve under him because of his stance on Brexit. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can unite Parliament. The country is overwhelmingly behind him. He's considered quite a unifier, but he has a majority of just one in the House of Commons, and that's going to be very difficult moving forward. Some people say there might be a general election on the cards soon as well. We wait to see.
Benjamin, what are the people there like most about him? Why do you think he got 60+% of the votes?
It's important to point out that it was a 67% of Conservative members. But people here from both sides of the aisle like him. because he speaks his mind, because there has been a sense that politicians here have been just spouting political slogans. Well, Boris Johnson from the very beginning has said exactly what he feels, and he fills the country with a sense of optimism. He's one of the few voices in Parliament saying that Brexit is a positive thing. Remember, he supported Brexit from the very beginning. In fact, they say that it was his vote that switched the results, that made it vote for Brexit. And so people like his optimism. At this time in British politics, that's what's needed. And of course, a close alliance with his partners around the world. Right. There's a sense of optimism, but also uncertainty.
Benjamin, we had to move you around the screen from full, it was just you, then it was just us, and then we had you in the top box. You weren't even flustered the whole time. Good job.
Thanks. Nice to be with you guys. It's a great story.
All right. Indeed. Well, so Boris Johnson, now he's got his work cut out for him because he campaigned on the hard Brexit. I can get the job done. But few in Brussels, which is the head of where the EU is centered, really think that he can actually get a better deal than Theresa May did. And she negotiated for 2 years. But he says he's going to exit whether he got a deal or not.
Well, they know his heart's in it because he came up with it. Meanwhile, Douglas Murray joined us earlier today. He's from Britain. He's with the Henry Jackson Foundation, which is a Democrat known for his being somewhat of a blue dog during his days. He talked about Boris Johnson from London about 90 minutes ago with Ainsley and I, and here's what he said.
This will be the first time since we voted to leave the EU that we've had a Prime Minister completely dedicated to actually getting us out of the EU. The problem for Boris Johnson is that the parliamentary arithmetic here in Westminster doesn't change. So there's going to be a change of tone, but there's not a change of the realities on the ground at the moment. One of the reasons why the UK voted to leave the EU was because, of course, in 2015 we saw this extraordinary sight of the EU completely failing to have any grip on its external borders. And this terrified the British public, just as it terrifies publics around the world.
All right, so let's see how he does. Meanwhile, apparently Robert Mueller, who's going to be tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time, we're going to start our coverage of Mr. Mueller going up to Capitol Hill. Apparently he reached out to the Department of Justice and he said, hey, how do I handle when I'm testifying questions concerning privilege and other legal questions? And so the Department of Justice sent him a letter and essentially said, we expect you to keep your testimony to exactly what was in the 448-page Mueller report.
Yeah, we start our coverage tomorrow at 8 o'clock. He'll start speaking at 8:30. That will be televised. Right. Martha and Brett will be handling that. And he'll go before the first committee for 4 hours, and they'll take a lunch break, and then another committee in the afternoon. But he did say back in May, the end of May, May 29th, he said he's going to stick to the report. Listen.
Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report. We chose those words carefully. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress.
So it could be boring. It might not be. Yeah, I think the Democrats are going to say, I want to zero in on William Barr, what he said and what you meant. And was there any difference between them? And for Democrats, they're going to say, hey, why don't you just tell us? Read this portion of the obstruction clause or part 2 of the Mueller report. So they have it in his words, him saying it, right. And then Democrats will have their soundbite. But the Democrats right now are really under pressure because if they walk away and there's no there, how are you ever going to have another run at this? If you can't get Mueller to make headlines, how are you going to bring up Don McGahn or Jared Kushner and expect people to pay attention?
Well, listen, how many times do we hear, okay, let's just wait until the Mueller report came out. And the Mueller report came out and it wasn't what they wanted. Now they're going to get essentially a TV show. Apparently, the Democrats later today behind closed doors are going to have a mock hearing where they practice their questions. So it's going to be interesting to see what he says tomorrow. We had the judge with us, Napolitano, a little while ago. He doesn't think we're going to hear anything new.
It's hard to believe that we will hear something from Bob Mueller's mouth tomorrow, other than his opinion that we don't already know about. The Democrats' goal is to get Bob Mueller to say that were Donald Trump not the president of the United States, we would have sought his indictment. The Republican goal is to say the entire investigation was illicit, illegitimate, and unlawful. We may not learn anything new. He may not express an opinion. He may only say, I point to you on page 26, page 348, it may be as dull and dry as something like that.
Apparently, Mr. Mueller's spokesperson also said that he will submit the public version of the Mueller report as his official statement for the record.
All right, well, we'll be watching and covering that all day tomorrow. In other news, we saw some video this morning that, my gosh, that's the reaction when you watch it, because it's police officers just being very civil, doing their jobs and getting attacked, getting soaked with buckets of water. Watch this video.
This is the NYPD.
Oh my God, they came over here to talk to them that they violated. Yo, they violated them. They violated them. No, they violated them. Oh, they not stopped.
Unbelievable. The restraint that those police officers showed. I mean, you got to wonder, why didn't they ever flinch? I mean, does this happen every day? It was caught on video. We haven't seen it before.
People mocking them, laughing at them.
The mayor said it was unacceptable. Watch this. Watch that guy right in the center. He gets hit in the head with a red bucket.
Yeah, that's happening in two different places. That's Harlem right there. The first video we showed you was in Brooklyn.
So the question is, why did they do it? Why didn't they call for backup? Because it could have escalated real quick. By the way, that last one, after they already get hit, they go to the car, they make an arrest, and then they're getting slammed with water. They didn't call for backup. The one thing in talking to police officers, they say, whatever you do, can't knock your hat off. You gotta preserve the uniform. There's total disrespect here. Now, Rudy Giuliani just tweeted something out, just saying this is all dates back to the liberal mayor and the liberal attitudes, and until there's a change, this is going to continue. In fact, it's going to get worse.
The anti-police rhetoric.
We had on Darren Porcher, and we had a police panel, and he blames the Ferguson effect. In the New York Post today, a police source blames Mayor de Blasio's quote, hands-off approach to these guys. Yeah. And Ainsley, you talked to somebody from Indiana.
Yeah,
today.
Harvey Mills. He is in the South Bend Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge number 36. And he watches this, and he got emotional. Watch this.
Emotional right now because I don't know those officers' exact situation, but I'm guessing that somewhere in their administration there's a break law, something broken, because police officers should not have to deal with that. That's assault. That's battery. Assault on a police officer demands an arrest.
Absolutely.
Video's out there. You got to go back in.
Well, we had a panel on earlier, and they thought they probably would revisit some of that video because faces are very, very clear. We had 3 cops on. They all agreed they blame the mayor of New York City. And they also say beat cops across this city are really frustrated and angry about this. Watch.
I was sick to my stomach watching this. You had officers ultimately walking away with their tail between their legs because they were bullied. The other scene, you see officers getting buckets thrown at them, and not once did the officers turn around for their safety to see what else was coming. That's disgusting. Police officers are upset, and this is how cops get killed.
Now we look at this progressive mayor that has tied the hands of the police. So he's taken away stop and frisk. He's taken away many of the tools that they could use, the broken windows theory. And you create a reactive or less than reactive police department when in a city like this, you need a proactive police department.
Police officers are here to protect and defend the citizens of the city of New York. And this is a clear attribute that it didn't happen here. And I blame this on the administration not backing the cops.
It's so sad because they don't make a lot of money. They put on that uniform every day. They go out to protect all of us, and they put themselves on the line. Many of them are injured on the job. Many of them don't make it. It's such a tough position because they're putting themselves out there. And this is how they're treated. You know, these are law enforcement individuals.
Right. Rudy Giuliani, who is one of the best, most impactful mayors we've had and will have, said the disrespect for the uniform in New York City is a result of Democrat, progressive, retrogressive, socialist mayor. This is what happens with knee-jerk disrespect for policemen. It will only get worse until these left-wing idiots are defeated. Well, you have some opinions on what you just saw, too.
Right. Denise tweeted us this. My son is a New York City Police Department officer. This sickens me.
Sickens us, too. This is from Greg. Now it's water being thrown at the cops. Next, it's going to be rocks and bricks.
And next, they're not going to be coming to help you out when you need them, by the way. This tweet from CJ, this disrespect for law enforcement has gone too far.
I read something in the paper this morning, and it's reminiscent of the email that you just read. They said, today it's a bucket of water, tomorrow it could be a bucket of cement. And what that refers to is back in 1993, a police officer here in New York City was killed when somebody threw a 30-pound bucket of spackling and hit him and killed him. And that was over the fact that the police officers in that area were starting to tow cars that were parked illegally. Unbelievable.
Breaking the law. All right, 14 minutes after the hour, Jillian Miller, you have other stories.
That's right. Good morning. Let's get you caught up, starting with this. Foul play is suspected in the death of an Ole Miss college student. A local NBC affiliate reports Allie Costal was shot 8 times. Police, though, have not confirmed that report. A deputy discovered Costal's body near a lake while on routine patrol about 20 miles from the Mississippi campus. The 21-year-old was last seen on a security camera walking near a bar on Friday night. A fast-track deportation process for illegal immigrants starts today. It will remove nearly 300,000 illegals who have entered the U.S. in the past 2 years. Senator Dianne Feinstein says the move is, quote, just one more attack on our immigration system. But immigration officials say it's necessary.
It is a head-shaking surprise to me when I hear elected senators, and frankly, the bill that this is based on is bipartisan, who still oppose actually enforcing the law.
The process is expected to help alleviate the massive immigration court backlog. Okay, so earlier in the show, we told you about a little prank me and Rob Schmidt tried to pull on Brian. This is after Rob tried to pull the prank on me. We put a snake in his office and waited for him to arrive this morning. Check it out.
Oh my God. Everything could possibly be real.
Keep in mind, this is like 4:15 this morning.
It looks real. That's a snake that I put in my office.
This is the snake. Oh, you want me to walk over? Okay, this is the snake, by the way. So, Brian.
Where'd you put it?
It was sitting right by my door.
Right by his door. So when he opened the door this morning, and he's got like a light-colored carpet, this is what he saw.
What did you think? What was your reaction?
My reaction was, I said, that can't possibly be real.
But you stood there for like a minute or two, like looking at it.
Right.
And then the assistant for the three of you walked over, Jaylene. Poor Jaylene. She ran away from it.
Yeah, she screamed. And she never saw it. She thought that she's heard me talk about it.
I didn't think it looked like a snake, though.
It's amazing the fun you could have.
What did it look like?
I thought it looked like a pile of dog something.
Yeah, it kind of does.
That they were watching you and videoing you?
No, I had no idea. Yeah, this is what these two
What goes on?
Where did Rob get this?
Yeah.
Wait, Rob bought this on Amazon. He said it was the best $10 he's ever spent, and he wants it back.
Right.
$10? I can get you a $3 snake. That's
So
very
I'm responsible to deliver it. He actually went to the trouble
And that's
to go
me,
on
but
Amazon.
I am hesitating before I go in my office there.
And that's Jaylene standing against the wall.
Yeah. All right. Oh, the hijinks.
That's our brand. You know what I noticed? Our brand new offices. How beautiful they are.
They are.
Love
yes.
Yeah, mine's got a pool.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
17 minutes after the top.
Amping up her party's push for a $15 an hour minimum wage, calling for it to be raised to 18 or 20 bucks instead. Our next guest, a Democrat, disagrees on this one. Fox News contributor and former Obama economic advisor Robert Wolf joins us right now. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
Currently, the federal minimum wage for tipped employees is $2.13, and you say it should go up. She says it should go up to 20 bucks.
Yeah, so, you know, during the Trump-Clinton, there was a whole thing, Fight for 15, and as we spoke, I wasn't a supporter of that either.
Right.
I'm a fight for living wage, and living wage has to do with skills, geographic location, and where you are. When you speak to Tim Ryan, who's a candidate from Youngstown, Ohio, he yells and screams, The guys I'm fighting for from the unions, they don't want me to fight for $15. They want $30, $40 an hour. You have restaurateurs. I was just talking with Ainsley, who said, you know, her friends who own a restaurant couldn't afford $20. They would be shut down. So, and there was a recent economic study that this fight for 15 actually would reduce employment. I'm
up to maybe 4 million people.
I love that we're fighting for a higher minimum wage. I'm just saying I don't know where they set the number.
But because, and you're a numbers guy, because it's a math problem. If you're in business and you sell something for a certain amount of money, you can afford to pay so much. But if you have to pay more, you're going to have to jack up your prices, or you're going to have to let people go.
Right, and Steve, New York City should not be the same as upstate New York. Right? I mean, we're just kidding ourselves that everything's of equal.
Because, you know, real estate here in this town costs so much per square foot, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, let's fight for 20 in New York City. But upstate New York, I don't want to see anyone lose a job because all of a sudden we're putting some arbitrary number.
Well, what did you make of Bernie Sanders? You know, he said out on the stump, $15 should be the minimum wage. Then it turns out he wasn't paying his own campaign people that. Now he is, but he's saying he's going to have to cut back hours.
Yeah, you know, you and I have had this debate for many years. I'm not for this populist rhetoric. I'm for what can be legislatively done.
You're a businessman.
And in my opinion, a lot of what's being talked about, this litmus test, whether it's open borders or Medicare for all, these things cannot be legislatively done. So let's talk about what can happen. And that's why I think at the end of the day, the party's not going to be able to win if they shift this far left.
Well, it did pass. $15 minimum wage did pass the House of Representatives on Thursday. Now, it's not going to go anywhere in the Senate.
Not going to the Senate.
But Democrats will be able to say when they're out on the stump before 2020, hey, look what I did for you.
Yeah, and I think, listen, like I said, I think it's a great candidacy thing where, hey, we're fighting for a higher wage, and I agree with that. But I think we should talk about living wage, and that's what you and I have been talking about for years.
All right, Robert.
Thank you
very much. All right, meanwhile, take a look at this. Tom Brady's parenting taking a hit after posting a video of him and his daughter.
To church, and the priest said, we want united and peaceful protests. This morning, after last night, you can see the graffiti on the walls of the church. Renuncia, resign. And over here, dictador, dictator, referring to the governor. And in my hand, you can see some of the remnants that we're seeing on the streets. This is a rubber ball bullet casing. These are all over the streets of Old San Juan tonight. Last night, the video, you can see tear gas was shot at the protesters. Everything was peaceful up until 11 o'clock at night. The police had warned the protesters not to throw rocks 4 times, and yet there were some in the crowd that did, and so that's what ensued. Also, you know, this was on the same day that some 500,000 protesters hit the streets, blocking a major highway here in Puerto Rico. Yesterday, our very own Shepard Smith had a one-on-one interview with the embattled governor, Ricardo Rosselló, who many people here want out because of corruption and mismanagement, and also those vulgar texts. Take a listen.
Governor, who's come forward to support you in the middle of this chaos?
There are folks that have supported me.
Who specifically is supporting you today?
The rule of law. There are people.
Okay, could you give me one name?
See them out there. There is a protest.
Governor, you're not able to give me the name of one person in Puerto Rico who supports you continuing as governor. Is that correct?
The governor did give one name. That was the mayor of San Sebastian, Javier Jimenez. I called Javier Jimenez last night, and he said he does not support the governor, and he's waiting to see how this process of impeachment may go. Rosselló, by the way, doesn't have a fan in the White House. The president commenting on all of this yesterday. Take a listen.
The Congress of the United States handed him $92 billion. And that $92 billion is in the hands of incompetent people and very corrupt people. But the governor has done a terrible job, and the mayor of San Juan she's horrible. I think she's just terrible. She's so bad for her people.
Puerto Rico received $42 billion from Congress. Actually, that was the number that was appropriated post-Hurricane Maria. They've received $13 billion of that. But you can understand what the sentiment is. People here really do feel like that money is being mismanaged and it's corrupt here. Guys?
Wow, I don't see how he finished out his term. Thanks, Brian. Ainsley?
Okay, thank you. Some fans and fellow celebrities are throwing the flag on Tom Brady's parenting after he posted a video of him and his 6-year-old little daughter jumping off of a cliff in Costa Rica. Watch this. Well, the internet is split on this, and here to debate is author of What's Wrong with Damn Near Everything, Larry Winget, and the author of Coach Parenting, Erica Katz. Thank you both for being with us.
You bet.
It's great to be here. Thank you. Okay, Eric, I'll start with you. Where do you stand on this? Is it fine and fun or irresponsible?
When I saw this, I lost my breath. I mean, It was so irresponsible because she could have been injured. She could have hit herself on a rock. And the worst part is that he posted to Instagram so everyone could see this. It really bothered me. I lost my breath every time I see it. Ooh.
Oh, okay. Larry, how about you?
I could not disagree more. This is just a daddy having fun with his kid. Everybody knows, and I looked at everything that the critics were saying about how he jerked her in and pulled her and all that. Every good parent knows that sometimes in order to encourage your children initially to do something they're uncomfortable with or a little bit afraid of, sometimes you have to push and sometimes you have to pull. In this case, he jumped in first, holding her hand. They did the countdown. Not only a good parent having a good time, but good leadership, proving to her that he was willing to go in first. I see nobody that should be upset with this at all. That's just a good daddy.
But what would have happened if she would have gotten hurt? We might be having a very different conversation because remember, he's really big and he can jump very far out. She can't quite do that. And also when they're jumping, you can see they're free falling. I mean, you can't control what's going to happen. And when I watched this as a parent, I was really upset. And then when he posted to all his fans, it's like saying, hey, this is a great thing to do. And it's really not a great thing to do, especially in that environment.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
No, I wonder if they said the same thing to the parents of Greg Louganis and all those kids who eventually became Olympic high divers. Seriously, you can get hurt doing almost anything. We have schools that are making tag and Red Rover and those kind of things and dodgeball illegal because there's an outside chance a kid might get hurt. You know, there's an outside chance. In fact, there's a really good chance a kid might just have a good time and start to learn something.
Yeah, but this is jumping
real
from a
life
cliff.
has some risks.
I see all sides, but I think they are just having fun, and I'm sure that happens all the time in that area in Costa Rica. I'm sure so many people jump off. They knew it was deep enough, and that, you know, from our advantage, it looks like she could have hit the rocks, but I'm sure if you look over, there was plenty of space. I'm sure it was all fine. Okay, let's talk about this other topic. This is in Pennsylvania. School district says if you don't pay your school lunch bill, because many parents are sending their kids to school and they're charging the lunches and forgetting to pay the bills, then we'll put your kid in foster care. Larry, I'll start with you on this one.
Well, first of all, that's ridiculous. We're not going to take kids away from their parents because they're not paying their school lunch money. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and they should have known better than to send that. I will say this. Pay your bills. Everybody, pay your bills. It's not a parenting issue. That's an integrity issue. You made a deal. You owe the money. You pay the money.
Okay.
But when the punishment is we're going to take your kids away and feed your kids peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, that's dumb.
Erica, 20 seconds. Go.
Well, I think there are different ways to get people to pay their bills. There are a lot of people who don't pay their bills, and this is definitely not the way to do it. And
this is the Stand Up for Betsy Ross T-shirt. Well, this shirt became a vehicle for people to push back. It's one of the most uplifting things that I have been involved in because this is the American people. This isn't me making a donation. This isn't you or anybody else. This is the American people, $27 at a time, generating enough revenue to be able to send $1.5 million to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
That's right. Friday on this telecast, conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh joined us with that incredible announcement. At that point, it was $1.5 million.
Yeah, but now the good news gets even better as sales of that Betsy Ross T-shirt have grown to more than $2 million.
And keep it going. You'll remember Rush made the shirts in response to Nike pulling their Betsy Ross flag themed sneakers. Now all the money he's raised is going to help 6 families of fallen heroes through the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Joining us right now is the CEO of Tunnel to Towers Foundation, Frank Siller. Frank, good morning to you. Good morning. Congratulations, Rush Limbaugh, through the generosity of people who have bought that T-shirt, is donating $2 million and counting to Tunnel to Towers.
No, it's unbelievable. What that has done for our foundation is beyond words. Him and his wife, Catherine, are taking the goodness of America, letting the people push back because we're sick and tired of people bashing America. And
in particular, Colin Kaepernick, Nike, the Betsy Ross shoe.
All that. But it's much more than that. You just saw pictures of police officers getting water thrown upon them, the disrespect that goes around. And these great Americans put their lives on the line for us every single day. So not only is Rush and Catherine reaching out to the goodness of America, because of this money donated to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, we're taking care of the greatness of America, these people who serve our country.
Tell us what you're doing. Who are these
So we got
individuals?
6 great heroes that we could pay off their mortgages immediately.
Unbelievable.
And the beauty of it, some have been waiting for a while. Like we have a police officer, Stephen DeSario from Kirkland, Ohio. His wife was pregnant with their 7th child when he was killed, responding to a crazy man with a gun. So 2 weeks after they buried him, the wife had the 7th child.
7th child.
Arizona
They
Deputy
need that
Marshal,
house.
U.S. Marshal Chase White,